My sister sold my inheritance while I covered her expenses, so I bought the house she wanted and left her in financial ruin. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and for most of my life, I've been the one my family counted on, especially my younger sister. Ashley, I've always been the stable one, the one who stayed behind to help Mom after Dad walked out. I got a decent job right out of college, nothing glamorous, just steady IT work, but it let me pay my bills on time, help out around the house, and cover emergencies without panicking. Meanwhile, Ashley was the dreamer, the golden child, everyone's favorite dot. She was the kind of girl who could charm her way out of anything. Teachers adored her. Family members fawned over her, even when she kept switching majors, dropping jobs, or forgetting to pay her bills. Mom would just say, "She's finding herself." I didn't mind helping at first. I paid her rent twice when she was between gigs. I covered her car repairs because she needed it to go to interviews. She always said thank you, promised to pay me back, and swore she'd get it together soon. I wanted to believe her. I chose to believe her because that's what family does, right? You sacrifice a little now, and it comes back around. When our grandmother passed away, we were both devastated. She raised us more than anyone else had. But the one small comfort was knowing her house, the only real asset she had, would go to both of us. She'd always said it would be split between me and Ashley. So I trusted that, when the time came, we'd both honor that. I should have seen the signs earlier. The way Mom kept saying, "Don't stress about the paperwork." The way Ashley would brush off any mention of the will. But I kept telling myself, family wouldn't screw me over. Not them. I was wrong. I remember sitting in Grandma's old living room the week after her funeral, the air thick with dust and grief. That house always felt like a time capsule, creaky wooden floors, the smell of lavender soap, and the faint ticking of her antique clock echoing through the hallway. It hurt to be there, but it also felt grounding, like being wrapped in the last piece of her. Mom was going through papers at the dining table, and Ashley was scrolling on her phone like it was just another Sunday. I asked, gently, "Did the lawyer explain how the estate stuff works?" Grandma always said we'd split the house. Ashley didn't even look up. "Relax, it's all being handled." Mom said everything will be fair. Her tone was light, breezy, almost annoyed that I brought it up. Mom chimed in with, "Stop worrying. We're family." But something in her eyes didn't match her words, like she was avoiding something. Still, I swallowed it. I trusted them. A few days later, the lawyer emailed us details. The will named both of us as beneficiaries, but it left distribution up to the executor, our mom. The wording was discretionary. I didn't think much of it then. I figured it was just paperwork language, and Mom would follow Grandma's intentions. She knew what Grandma wanted. She'd heard it 1,000 times. But as the weeks passed, Ashley acted strangely. Whenever I mentioned the house, she shifted the conversation. When I asked if she wanted to help clean it out, she said, "I'm too busy." Even though she hadn't had a steady job in months, she kept posting vague captions on Instagram like, "Everything's finally falling into place," but wouldn't tell me what that meant. Still, I convinced myself it was nothing. Grandma always treated us equally. Mom would honor that. Ashley wouldn't take advantage of me, not after everything I'd done for her, at least. That's what I kept telling myself, even as something deep in my stomach started to twist. It started with a notice from the city on overdue property tax bill for the house. At first, I assumed it was just a clerical mistake. After all, Mom had said she was handling everything, and Ashley told me not to stress about legal stuff. But the envelope was addressed to me, and it listed my name as a corresponsible party. That's when the unease I'd been trying to ignore started to crawl up my spine. I called Mom. "Hey, did you see this tax notice?" She sighed, clearly annoyed. "It's being taken care of. Just toss it. Ashley's dealing with it." Then she changed the subject, started asking if I could help Ashley with a deposit she needed for something important. I didn't push. I didn't want to stir anything, so I paid the tax bill myself, just to be safe. Meanwhile, Ashley's lifestyle started shifting in ways I couldn't ignore. She suddenly had new clothes, subtle luxury stuff, nicer handbags, shoes I knew cost more than a week of my salary. Her old beater car. Gone. She was driving a newer model now. Nothing extravagant, but not cheap either. She posted pictures at trendy brunch spots, captioned with things like, "Manifesting my best life." I asked her directly one night, "Are you working again? You seem like you're doing well." She smiled, like I'd just said something adorable. "Oh, I've got some things in the works. Don't worry about me." That same week, she texted asking for help with her utilities again. Something didn't sit right. I didn't say no yet, but I told her I was tightening my budget. Her reply, just a thumbs up emoji still. I was trying to be a good brother. I wanted to believe this was just her finally catching a break. Maybe life was working out for her, and I'd see my support pay off. But that tax notice, it kept whispering at the back of my mind. Something wasn't right, and I was about to find out just how deep it went. The moment everything snapped into focus was a random Tuesday afternoon. I had taken a half day from work to finally sort out the estate confusion. Something about that tax notice kept gnawing at me, like a splinter buried too deep under the skin to ignore. So I drove to the county records office, not expecting a bombshell. Just hoping to clear up whatever paperwork mix-up Mom kept waving off. The clerk, an older guy with glasses sliding down his nose, typed Grandma's address into the system. He turned the monitor slightly toward me. "You're not the owner," he said casually. I frowned. "Yeah, I know it's in probate. We're settling it." He shook his head. "No, the property was transferred 6 months ago." My stomach dropped. "Transferred to who?" He clicked, scrolled, and then said it. "Ashley Harper." For a second, I swear I couldn't hear anything. Not the murmuring voices behind me. Not the sound of printers. Not even my own breathing. Just that name, Ashley. Listed as sole owner. And the transfer date. Long before the funeral dust had even settled, I asked him to print the documents. My hands shook as I held the paper's Mom's signature as executor, processing the transfer. No mention of me. No requirement for my approval. Just a clean, silent removal of my existence from what was supposed to be shared. I drove straight to Mom's house, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. She was in the kitchen when I walked in. "Why is Ashley the only one on the deed?" I demanded. Her expression didn't change. Not shock. Not guilt. Just tired annoyance. She needed stability. "You're fine on your own. Grandma wanted it split," I said. My voice cracked. "She told us that." Mom only sighed. "Stop being dramatic. It's just a house." Later, when I confronted Ashley, she didn't bother pretending. She shrugged and said, "You said you didn't care about living there. I needed it more. Don't make this a big thing." My hands felt numb. I walked out of that house realizing something terrifying. They had planned this together, and if they could do this once, what else had they already done behind my back? A week later, I found out what they'd really done, and it hit me harder than the betrayal itself. I was sitting in my apartment late at night, scrolling through property listings for no real reason. I wasn't planning to buy anything, but I guess some part of me wanted to see what the house would have been worth. I typed in Grandma's address. It didn't show up, but a property just a few blocks away had the same exterior. Same white porch, same fence, same maple tree in front. Except the listing had new photos, fresh paint, remodeled kitchen, hardwood floors buffed to a shine. It was Grandma's house, but no longer hers. And at the bottom of the page, in bold letters, SOLD 3 months ago. I froze. I clicked the transaction history and confirmed it. Ashley had sold the house. Not just taken it, flipped it, for a massive profit. And she did it while I was still helping her pay bills, all those times she'd texted for just a little help with groceries or her phone bill. She already had tens of thousands from that sale. While I was clipping coupons and skipping dinners out, she was sitting on Grandma's legacy like it was her own little lottery ticket. I felt sick when I confronted her. She didn't deny it. "It was my name on the title," she said flatly. "I sold it because I had to get out of that town. That place was depressing." "You lied to me," I said quietly. "You took everything," she scoffed. "Oh, please. You're acting like I robbed a bank. It was just a house. Move on." That line stuck with me. Just a house. It was never just a house. It was the only piece of stability I thought we still shared. The last thing Grandma gave us, and she sold it off like it meant nothing. Then kept asking me for money like I was too stupid to ever find out. My thoughts kept circling the same loop. How could they do this? How could my own mother sign away something meant for both of us and pretend like it was normal? And Ashley, she looked me dead in the eye and asked for help with her electricity bill after selling the house. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. The next morning, I booked a consultation with a probate attorney. I showed him the will, the property transfer documents, and explained the timeline. He read everything slowly, then looked at me with a kind of weary sympathy. "Technically, it's legal," he said. "The will gave your mother full executor discretion. She had the authority to transfer the property as she saw fit." I blinked. "Even if Grandma said she wanted it split," he nodded. "Unless that's stated explicitly in the will, verbal intentions don't hold up." I felt something hollow out inside me. "So, I have no case." "You could file a challenge," he said carefully, "but it'll cost you a lot, and the odds aren't great." I left the office numb. It wasn't just that they'd stolen from MIT, it was that they'd done it clean. No shady backdoor scheme, no forged signatures. Just quiet paperwork, sealed behind a smile and a promise that everything will be fair. I sat in my car for a long time. At some point, I realized I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. Not from rage, but from shame. I had let this happen. I had trusted them. I went home that night and turned off my phone. No texts, no calls. I needed silence, because everything I believed about family had just cracked in two, and the worst part, they didn't even think they did anything wrong. For a while, I shut down completely. I went to work, came home, ate whatever was in the fridge, and stared at the walls. I didn't have the energy to be angry not yet. I just felt hollow, like someone had scooped me out from the inside and left nothing but a shell trying to act like a person. But something shifted a few weeks later when I saw a post on Ashley's Instagram. She was standing in front of a luxury high-rise building downtown, posing with keys in her hand and captioning it, "Next chapter begins. Dream life loading." There was no mention of Grandma, no trace of the house that funded this dream life, just filters fake gratitude, and a comment section full of friends calling her an inspiration. That was the moment I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I didn't want revenge, not the kind that involved screaming matches or lawsuits that would only feed their narrative that I was bitter or jealous. What I wanted was control. I wanted to get back everything I gave away and then some, quietly, smartly, permanently. So I got to work. I took on extra hours at work. I started freelancing tech support gigs at night. I cut every unnecessary expense and built a savings plan with the same kind of obsessive focus I used to give to Ashley's problems. I stopped answering Mom's guilt-laced texts. I ignored Ashley's vague check-ins when she realized I wasn't offering money anymore. 6 months in, I had saved more than I thought possible. I had my old discipline back, but this time, it was all for me. And then something unexpected happened. A mutual friend mentioned Ashley was trying to buy a new house back in our hometown, the one she always dreamed of growing up in. The same house I knew had just quietly been listed off-market. And that's when a new thought slipped into my mind like a spark in dry grass. What if I bought it first? I didn't hesitate. The next morning, I called the listing agent. The property hadn't hit the public market yet, but the seller was someone I vaguely remembered, old friend of my former boss who had inherited the home from an aunt. It needed some repairs, but the bones were solid and the neighborhood prime. I scheduled a walkthrough that afternoon. As I stepped into the house, something in me clicked. It wasn't just about the walls or the layout. It was the possibility, the fact that I could choose this for myself. No guilt, no manipulation. Just me, building something of my own. I made a full cash offer the next day. No contingencies, no delays. The agent called me back within 24 hours. "Congrats, they accepted. House is yours." And just like that, I owned the home Ashley had been dreaming about for years. I didn't gloat. I didn't post. I just waited. It took less than a week for the ripple to hit. My phone buzzed one evening, "Ashley." I didn't answer. Then came the text, "Ashley, did you seriously buy that house on Sycamore?" Me? Yes. "Ashley, you knew I was trying to get that place. Why would you do that?" Me? Because I could. No emojis, no explanations. Just a shift in the air. She tried calling twice. I let it ring. I sat on the floor of my new living room that night. No furniture yet, just me and the echo of my own breathing. But for the first time in over a year, I felt calm. I didn't need to fight. I didn't need to yell. I had already won, because for the first time, I took something she couldn't take back, and I wasn't done yet. It didn't take long for the dominoes to start falling. I heard through mutual friends that Ashley was panicking. She'd over-leveraged her condo. Assuming she could flip it quickly and fund her next big purchase, the house on Sycamore she had been obsessing over for years. With the market shifting and interest rates climbing, her financial cushion started to disappear faster than she could react. Suddenly, her carefully curated dream life was cracking at the edges. I saw it in her social media posts. The filtered brunches stopped. The lavish weekend trips became occasional check-ins with distant smiles. Comments from friends slipped through, hinting at unpaid bills or late notices. The glow was gone. And for the first time, I realized just how badly she'd overestimated herself and underestimated me. Then came the texts from Mom, desperate and almost pleading. "Can you help Ashley just this once? She's struggling with rent." I stared at my phone for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. My first instinct was to feel angered, to yell, to lecture, but I didn't. Instead, I laughed quietly, almost absurdly. The irony was intoxicating. She'd sold the house that was meant to be mine, lived off my support while pretending to struggle, and now she needed help. I didn't reply, not even once. Not a no, not a sorry, nothing. The silence was my answer, and I knew it would sting more than any words I could type. For the first time, I felt a strange satisfaction, watching her scramble, not from malice, but from consequences she created herself, was oddly peaceful. The power dynamic had shifted entirely, and she hadn't even realized it yet. But even as I savored this quiet justice, a small part of me felt a pang of guilt. Could I have done more earlier? Could I have stopped this before it escalated? I shook my head. No, this was hers to own. And I was finally free from the weight of trying to fix what was never mine to fix. The first true victory was mine. But I had a feeling the real confrontation, the one that would leave everyone stunned, was still coming. It all came to a head at the family gathering a few months later. Mom had insisted we all come together for a casual dinner, her way of pretending everything was normal. I showed up early just to scope the room, my stomach heavy with tension. The familiar smells of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes filled the air, but I barely noticed. My mind was on Ashley. I knew she'd show up trying to spin the narrative, and I was ready to let the truth speak for itself. Sure enough, she arrived, in a fitted dress, hair perfect, smiling like nothing had happened. She started boasting about her condo and her exciting plans for the next investment, expecting applause, or at least awe. I stayed quiet, listening. Finally, she threw a sideways glance at me. "I guess you're still bitter about Sycamore," she sneered. I calmly set down my water glass and pulled out a small stack of Papers County records, transfer documents, tax receipts, and the original will. I didn't raise my voice. "I didn't need to. While I was covering your bills," I said evenly, "you sold the house that was meant to be shared with me." The room went silent. Mom's jaw tightened. Ashley's smile faltered. I spread the papers across the table, letting the evidence sit like a spotlight. Friends and distant relatives peered over. I could see the realization slowly dawn on her. The fantasy she had built on lies was crumbling in real time. She tried to speak, to fluster me, but I cut her off. "I didn't take anything from you. You chose this path. You sold my inheritance and acted like nothing happened. And yet, here you are, asking for help." Mom opened her mouth, but no words came. Ashley's eyes were wide, lips trembling, searching for a response. And there it was, the moment I had waited for. The first time she had no defense, no manipulation left to shield her. The weight of months of betrayal lifted slightly as I watched them squirm. But even as the room buzzed with whispers, I knew this wasn't the end. Not yet, because justice, in its quietest and most powerful form, was only just beginning. After that dinner, I retreated into the life I had been quietly building all these months. The house on Sycamore became my sanctuary, not just a place to live, but a symbol of everything I had endured and overcome. I didn't fill it with furniture immediately. I left the rooms empty for a while, letting the silence echo. It was the first time I felt free to breathe, without the constant weight of Ashley's manipulation pressing down on me. I started decorating slowly, choosing things that felt like me rather than chasing appearances. And then I made a decision that felt oddly liberating. I donated the furniture and heirlooms Grandma had left behind to a local shelter. If Ashley couldn't respect the past, then at least it could serve someone who actually needed it. The thought of her never seeing those things again gave me a strange, quiet satisfaction. Meanwhile, Ashley's life started unraveling quickly. The condo she had overextended herself on was falling apart, financially late payments, high-interest creditors calling. She was forced to sell it at a loss and move into a modest rental. I didn't gloat. I didn't post passive-aggressive updates online. I simply let it happen. The consequences were hers, not mine to enforce. Mom reached out a few times, trying to guilt me into helping Ashley, claiming, "Family is family. You have to support her." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Boundaries finally felt like armor, and I realized that reclaiming my life meant refusing to bend for people who had betrayed me. Walking through my new home one evening, I paused by the window, watching the streetlights flicker against the dark sky. I thought about the boy who always said yes, who sacrificed endlessly for people who never valued him, and the man I had become, the one who finally said no. I had lost a lot of time, energy, but I had gained something far greater: respect for myself and a life built on my own terms. She sold my future, so I built a better one without her. A year later, I received an email from Ashley. Long, rambling, dripping with excuses. She apologized for everything, the house, the lies, the way she'd used me for money, and claimed she had been under pressure and didn't know what else to do. She begged for forgiveness, pleaded for a chance to make things right, and even tried to guilt me into responding. I read it once, then again, letting every word sink in, but I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Closure, I realized, doesn't come from someone else saying sorry. It comes from reclaiming your life and finally standing unshaken, while the people who wronged you realize they no longer have power over you. I felt it in every corner of my new home: the quiet, the stability, the knowledge that this space was mine, fully mine. I walked through the rooms, imagining Grandma's old furniture replaced by my choices, my decisions, my rules. I ran my hands along the counters, thinking about the years I spent sacrificing for people who would never appreciate it, and I smiled, not because of revenge, but because of freedom. Real, unshakable freedom. The past still lingered, of course. Memories of betrayal, sleepless nights, and the sting of being used never fully disappeared. But they no longer controlled me. I had taken the lessons, learned the hard way, and turned them into strength. My life wasn't about what Ashley or Mom had done anymore. It was about what I had built from the ground up, brick by brick. And as I stood by the window, watching the sunset, I whispered to myself, she sold my future. She lied. She underestimated me. I built a life that no one can take away. Forgiveness? That wasn't necessary. Justice? That came quietly, in the form of my own success, my own peace, my own home. The only closure I needed was knowing I had finally won, not through anger, but through reclaiming my life entirely on my own terms. And for the first time in years, I felt completely, undeniably at peace.